Okay, everybody, welcome back. Today we are joined by college football traveler Mike Barker from College Football Campus Tour. He every week of the football season sees at least two games. This time of year, it's four, sometimes five. The guy is just never seems that he never sleeps. Just is pretty much spending his time on the road. Mike, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me, Mike. And this is a rarity. I got a birthday hotel from my family, stayed on the road, so this is one of the first hotel rooms of the year. Very grateful, trying to enjoy it, and look forward to talking to you about college football.
Nice. That's a nice combo you were able to score there. So I guess for folks who aren't familiar with you, and I can't believe that there would be too many, but for folks who aren't familiar with you, how did this idea kind of germinate and come to fruition?
So in 2017, I took a trip to Colorado. I stayed at the Stanley Hotel, is where Stephen King stayed to inspire the book The Shining, which became the
Hmm?
movie. On the way to Lake Estes, Colorado, I stopped at Boulder and Fort Collins for Colorado State. I really enjoyed the visits. I cut my visit short at the Stanley and ended up going to Wyoming and Colorado Springs for other visits, and I just liked it. After that, I started visiting schools on the West Coast, like two in Arizona, two in Oregon, two in Washington. And then that fall, I started going to games. Went to 13 games in 2017, 30 in 2018, 50 in 2019, and then just started going from there. At the end of 2021, I saw a game at every FBS school, and since then we've been going back to some of them we saw during COVID, and also working on trying to be the only person to see a game at every FCS school.
That is definitely something to shoot for. Now I see on your bio that it says 133 of 134. Is that because Kennesaw State moved up?
Exactly. So in 2021, there was 130. And then since then, four teams have moved up to Conference USA. The only one I haven't seen is Kennesaw, and they play, I think it's October 23rd, and it's on a Wednesday. And I will go there, and we'll be back to 134 out of 134.
Right, that is outstanding. So as long as no one else is moving up, I know that Delaware moves up next year,
Same
so
with
that's going to
Missouri
change
State,
again.
too.
But they seem to be moving up slowly. So kicking off the FBS is not nearly as difficult as kicking off the FCS. Are you surprised how this has caught on? I mean, people have really come to your page. They're really kind of engaged by a lot of the pictures you get, the videos you get. You even started the obstructed views thing, which I think is outstanding. Are you kind of surprised how this caught on?
Definitely. I just started going to games, and I think people like chases. So, in 2021, I got close to 130 out of 130. So people like to follow that. Last year, I did 90 college football games in one season, which was a record, and I think people like that. This year, we're trying to go for 100, and people are interested. I just did game number 29 already, and then the obstructed views. There's something about it. There's something about tapping into people having, the big man, stick it to the man. The man sells you a bad seat. You don't like the feeling when you get gypped. And then there's a little bit of comedy behind it, taking the photo from behind. But all those things come together. I do take pride in my stadium photos, try to put up quality photos for people, do informative things, show off the concessions. But yeah, last week on Saturday night, I went to Stephen F. Austin, and they just basically rolled out the red carpet for me. So for a regular fan, being able to, have these experiences and most importantly, be able to share them on social media, I'm grateful. And yeah, I'm surprised how things are going. They're going good. And I'm very grateful.
And that was going to lead into my next one. Do you usually tell the schools about your arrival or so that you maybe can work with them? Or are there sometimes if you have to change on the fly, you just kind of show up?
Yeah, most of the weekday games I know I'm going to for a while because there's only one or two on the slate. The Saturday games after week 3, you don't know the kick time, so I try to see two games on a Saturday, so a noon and a 7 p.m. game. So maybe there'll be a little bit later of a notice, but I let everybody know I'm coming. I try to apply for a media credential. It's hard because a lot of schools don't put stock in the credibility of social media people, so you fight that. But the schools that see the benefit of getting their, their stadium, their program, their school showcased on social media on a pretty, decently sized platform, it goes well. But I will tell you that I've only been approved by one P4 this year. That was Nebraska, and it went great. But other than that, it's it's still a challenge. So I could work with a company and probably get credentials easier, but I'm trying to fight that uphill battle, legitimize myself, and it takes time.
Yeah, it definitely does. With all this travel, I know you said this is the first hotel room of the year, and folks who follow you know that you will often sleep in your car to kind of save some money and save some time. Have there been any just real nightmare scenarios, either you missed a connecting flight, or the rental car wasn't there, or the game you arrived at the stadium late? Have there been any nightmare scenarios, or fortunately have they been few and far between?
No, there's been nightmare scenarios. So, I call what I do, I call it hashtag glamour life, which is sarcastic because, we're sleeping in airports, we're sleeping in cars, we're taking the early flight, we're taking the red eye, and all of it is designed to save money. If you go to 100 college football games and a hotel is $150 a night, all of a sudden you save $15,000 by not getting hotels, which is huge for a person that's self-funded. Nightmare scenario, one that jumps out at me is 2022. I had FCS semifinals back-to-back nights. It was Friday, North Dakota State, Saturday afternoon, South Dakota State, which is a dream because you can drive between those two. And so it was $800 to fly into Fargo directly, or $300 to drive into Omaha and drive about 7 hours north. And so I went to save the money. I got no problem driving, and I got about 3 hours from Fargo, and the whole freeway was closed down because of snow, and I could not make it to the game. And it was Incarnate Word, Lindsey Scott Jr., Walter Payton Award winner versus North Dakota State in the Fargo Dome, and it was hard to watch. Fortunately, I had seen a game at the Fargo Dome before, but to have that all line up where you can see the two dynasties of FCS in the semifinals on back-to-back nights and not be able to make it because of weather, but more importantly, if I would have flown directly into Fargo, I would have made it, but I tried to save money and didn't. So that one hurt a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes you just gotta kind of roll with what life gives you. But yeah, I probably would have done the same thing. It's like, okay, if it was $100 difference, I probably fly. But yeah, that's $500 that you're putting in your pocket. So I probably would have done the same thing. And Mother Nature is undefeated, fortunately.
Absolutely.
So, do you have any? Certainly not to, I guess, not to downgrade anybody, but do you have any favorite trips, whether because of the scenery, the crowd electricity, just sort of the tradition of seeing the campus? Any stadiums, any maybe one or two that just really stand out over some of the others?
Yeah, so I mean, I love Kid Brewer Stadium, App State. I call it Field of Dreams. 3,333-foot elevation. It's the highest elevation east of the Mississippi River. I've been going there for a few years. When I first started going there was a track around it. There was no in zone complex, and that place not only has grown in size and quality, but the nation has caught on more than them just being an FCS powerhouse. So I love going to Kid Brewer. I tell everybody my favorite stadium is the Sun Bowl in El Paso, 4,000-foot elevation. I-10 runs behind the stadium, which divides the U.S. and Mexico. You could see Mexico in the valley from the top of the visitor bleachers. The bleachers are carved out of the mountain so you can fit the stadium. It's a very serene location, and it's an old stadium, which I like too. And then one more I'll throw out. I love Husky Stadium in Washington. The greatest setting right on the water there. That place has undergone great improvements too. It used to have a track, and they filled that in and renovated it. So all of those, what they all have in common is great setting, something near, either a natural body of water or the woods or the valley. And that's what's cool about college football, is that we have outdoor stadiums and we're putting them in places where we're leaning into the geography in that town. And I love it.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Sun Bowl. Last year, I did a family event in New Mexico, so I got to see New Mexico State, and then drove from Las Cruces to El Paso. Unfortunately, I could not get in. I walked around the place. There actually was an event going on in the stadium, a hiring event, and there was a guy standing there, and I'm thinking, okay, should I say I'm here for the hiring and then just take some pictures? But I wanted to be straightforward with him. I showed him my business card. I showed him what I do. He actually looked like he wanted to let me in, but he said, "We got people in here working." I said, okay. So, but yes, I saw the outside and just the area. You're right. I was up on a mountain and it's like, yep, there's Mexico. So
Yep,
I would
it's
love to get
amazing.
in at one point for a game because it looks like even though the Miners are not having a great season, their students certainly seem like they're pretty enthusiastic.
Well, it's one of those things where, unfortunately, when a team is down, it's going to impact the attendance. I think students, especially this time of year, they're freshmen. They want to love football. They want to do it, and they're not tuned into, oh, we've been down bad for a few years. And so, what I tell people is, if you really want to experience the Sun Bowl, at its peak environment, go to the bowl game. Go on December
Yeah.
31st. They always sell it out. It's the second longest running bowl game besides the Rose Bowl. So yeah, I hope you can make it back. I'm going there on the 5th. I think the 16th they play FIU on a Wednesday, and then on Tuesday
Hmm.
before that is New Mexico State. So it'll be a cool back to back in the what is it, Battle of I-10. That's that rivalry.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought New Mexico State was pretty cool too. I like the way that their whole complex is and their stadium. Them I was able to just kind of walk in. Last thing I saw, you got a nice photo with guy who does sort of what you do, a little bit different with G Fed. Um, that looked like kind of the two traveling, I guess, college football guys. Is that something he tried to set up, or did you? He just said, "Hey, you're going to be here. Let's meet up," or how did that kind of come together?
Yeah, so in that photo is GFED is also Roger Sherman, who is a
Hmm.
sports writer in New York, went to 62 football games last year. I met him on the road. So me and GFED, we've been at a couple of games at the same time in the last year or so, but just haven't been able to connect because, he has things he needs to do. I have things I need to do. But that game, I always tweet that I made it or I arrived to a stadium about an hour and a half before, and people will respond and say, hey, I'm in section 112. Come see me. I'm tailgating here. Come see me. And so he just sent me a DM. He said, I'm here. Let's meet up. And after I did my, sweep of the stadium with my photos that I needed, I went up there and hung out with him and hung out with Roger. And it was really cool because, I have tons of respect for what GFED does. It takes guts to do that. In the infancy of my travels, I wanted to get in the stadium, and he has rules, and he made a cool game out of it almost. And for me, like, I was hopping fences trying to get in, but I don't do that anymore because I've been past it. So I just know what it's like to push the envelope a little bit. There's
Hmm.
not really any real consequences usually. If you just say like what you were saying about the Sun Bowl, hey, I just want to check out the stadium. Usually
Hmm.
they'll be cool and tell you to go. But what he's done, his following on TikTok, almost 500,000 people, is cool. And we all three of us, we spent an hour talking about trips and small towns and travel strategies. It was, it's what you want to do to talk. There's not many peers that we have, and it was cool for
Right.
us all to talk on peer to peer level.
Right. That is cool. All right. Well, thanks for being on. We will continue to follow you throughout the year. I know you have a busy week this week, um, and we'll certainly be looking for the obstructed views because that's one of my favorite things. Going back to when Ohio State, before they did their press box renovation, it was really bad. Now there are fewer obstructed, but still, if you're right up next to the press box, you're seeing from about the 20 to the end zone. And because the video board is at the opposite end, you are pretty much out of luck. So I kind of feel for you on that one. So anyway, safe travels for you. And again, we will keep watching for you. If folks want to find you on social media, where can they look? And do you still do some of your YouTube stuff?
It's basically just Twitter and Instagram at CFB Campus Tour. YouTube stuff is not going right now, but I'm most active on Twitter. I feel like it's conversational. You can meet people in real life. Instagram is put up a photo and look at me and I'm just not that kind of person. But yeah, follow on Twitter, send me a message. I'm going to release my schedule for week 7 here pretty quick. And, I try to compare myself to, college game day. The only difference is I will meet you in person. I'll have a beer with you. I'll sit with you at the game and we could chop it up.
Right. All right. Thanks. Thanks a lot, Mike. If folks like this content and want to get more, hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button so that you know when new stuff is coming up. We will catch up later on. Thanks again, Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Mike.